Good morning, everyone. Before we start, can we do like a warm-up where on the count of 3, we scream, Creative Mornings! Just so kind of like we all wake up, okay? So, 1, 2, 3, Creative Mornings! Yeah, thank you. So, my name is Diana, and thank you so much for coming. I am a fashion designer. And today, because I was given the theme threads by the team, not threads actually, thread. But as a fashion designer, the first thing that came to my mind was threads, as in the yarns that make up our clothes. So today I will be talking about our relationship with clothes and why I think sustainability and ethics must be an important element that we choose in our clothing and fashion choices. So have you guys had breakfast? Yeah? Do you know what the best food is recommended for breakfast? The best fruit, guys, come on. The best fruit for breakfast, according to the doctors, are berries. That's why I'm dressed as a strawberry. So I'm your breakfast today. Anyways, that's not related. So let's just start with the presentation. So I love fashion very much. It's very natural to me. I love art. I love things that are creative. So fashion is something that's an extension of art for me. Oh, my husband is here. Hello. He's late. So I actually don't have a formal education in fashion. I actually studied industrial engineering. So I had some experiences in working for the corporate world. But after a few years working in the corporate world, I decided that I want to really focus on passion and pursue my passion. So after a few years working in 2011, that's when I decided to go fully in fashion. And that's when I started my fashion brand. So this is my shoe line that's based in Indonesia and Southeast Asia. It's called I Wear Up. So what I do is that we make shoes that are very fun and colorful and playful. And just for an example, these are the kind of shoes that we make. These are our campaign photos. And I've been running this business for 13 years now, since 2011. And since day one, we were very profitable already, interestingly. So it's a business that I take pride in, and it's been very successful. And as I was running this business, 5 years after, in around 2016, I would say, that's when I kind of thought you know what, I've been running this business for 5 years. I want to do something else other than I Wear Up. And at that time in Indonesia, that's when also a lot of the fast fashion brands entered the market. So when I say fast fashion brands, it's brands like Zara, Topshop, H&M, Mango, Pull & Bear. I'm pretty sure we are familiar with these brands. That's the year when these brands entered Indonesia, and I was super inspired by them. I'm oh my God, these brands are amazing. They're so exciting. They're so trendy. And every week I can shop new clothes and they are affordable. So at that time, I was you know what? I'm an entrepreneur, and why are these all fast fashion brands always from countries in Europe and US? Why is there no fast fashion brands from Asia or from Indonesia? So that's when I thought you know what? I'm also going to start a fast fashion brand from Indonesia, and I'm going to be super global. So that's when I decided to start my business, my new clothing line, which was called Smiley Mo. So for Smiley Mo, I went very ambitious compared to the I Wear Up, where I produce everything locally in a city in Indonesia called Bandung, and I had my own factory where I employ my own workers. With Smiley Mo, because the mindset from the beginning was I wanted to be like those fast fashion brands in the malls that I see. I directly worked with factories in China, and the goal was mass production. We're talking about thousands of clothes that I produced. So from the beginning, it was already super ambitious, super big. And these were the example of clothes that I made. And our sales from the beginning was quite high already because we were so ambitious. And we also at that time joined Jakarta Fashion Week, Kuala Lumpur Fashion Week. We joined London Fashion Week, Dubai Fashion Week, Torino Fashion Week. So it was already doing very well, especially in Southeast Asia. And then we were even already in the talks with ASOS.com, in which ASOS wanted to stock our products on their platform, on their website. And this is an example of the window display of my store in Malaysia. But after running that for 2 years, 2018, or maybe like 2017, beginning 2018, I happened to stumble upon a news, which was a bad news. And the news was that fast fashion is the bad news. So I watched this documentary called The True Cost, and it really opened my eyes to the harm that fast fashion does to the planet. So even though we cannot deny that we enjoy fast fashion, Zara, H&M, Mango and stuff, but fast fashion is actually really bad for the planet. And if you guys are not aware of why fast fashion is harmful for the planet, first of all, as the name suggests, the fashion is fast, as in they deliver the products very fast. They create products and create new designs very fast. So every time you go to Zara, every week there's always going to be new arrivals. So it's always exciting for consumers. There's always something new. There's always a promotion. There's a discount. There's something to buy. And because of that, the way fast fashion works is that to make it affordable, they have to produce in a very large quantity, mostly double or triple or way more than they can sell. And also because they have to make it super fast, again, the quantity becomes a problem. And why quantity becomes a problem is fast fashion, because then there's overproduction. And this happens because of fast fashion. Like when I saw these pictures in the video, in articles, I was like, these are clothes, like actual clothes from fast fashion. So where are these clothes? Where do these clothes come from? It's from the leftovers of the clothes that Zara and H&M could not sell, even after discounts. Like back in my country in Indonesia, some clothes would go like on discount up to 90%. And even up to 90%, there's still way too many stock left. And what happens with that stock is that they get sent to developing countries or underdeveloped countries. For example, this is in Chile, near Argentina, in South America. So Chile has been very popular to be a dumping ground, like a landfill for clothes that cannot sell from around the world, mostly from fast fashion brands. And I just feel very heartbroken when I see these photos, because it's like, what do we do with this? And a lot of these fast fashion products, they are made using polyester, nylon, which are basically plastic, so they cannot decompose. So what happens is just like the same as plastic bottles or plastic bags, but they are clothes and they cannot decompose for many years. So this is an effect of our fashion choices. And a lot of them they still even have tags on them, meaning they were not even secondhand. They were not clothes that have been worn and thrown away, but literally clothes that did not sell, because again, fast fashion, overproduction, too many stocks left, and they get thrown away just like that. And another one is like this one. This is in Ghana, in West Africa. Their beaches have now turned into another dumping ground for clothes. And I think a lot of us, because maybe we live in another part of the world, we don't see the reality of this, because especially in Switzerland, we don't see this, but actually if we kind of like open our eyes, like this is the reality of the world. This is the result of our fashion choices. And not just, and other than that, other than overproduction, the other harm of fast fashion is that, so fast fashion has to be very fast, right? In order to produce very fast, you need a lot of workers to produce your clothes. So technically, the factory that produces the clothes have to employ as many workers as possible to achieve the production deadline, because they want to deliver new clothes every week. But then because these fast fashion brands want to offer affordability, the prices have to be very low, meaning they expect factories to also offer them very low prices so that they can sell it at a low price as well. So in order to achieve that, they also have to pay their workers very low as well. And not just the workers, but maybe like these factories, they can't even afford to have a nice factory, because they will usually use like a leftover building that's like not even decent as a workplace, does not even offer safety in the workplace, but they just use that building, whatever building they can find, and just put sewing machines, and everybody's all cramped up there working, as long as it delivers on time. And fast fashion brands, they don't care. They're like, we don't care where you work, how many people you employ, as long as we get our designs delivered on time. And that is another problem. This is another example of an incident in 2013. So this is in Bangladesh. It's called the Rana Plaza factory, and every year we commemorate this as a tragedy of fast fashion. What happened was this factory was producing clothes for fast fashion brands, and the building was already like in a very poor condition, but they don't have money to like repair the building. So it's like just concrete, exposed, no proper rooms, no proper doors. It's just like an open space building where people are just working. And because again, fast fashion, we need to employ as many workers as possible. They hire so many workers that the building was overloaded. The building could not carry enough weight for the number of people working, and it just collapsed. And it collapsed, and more than 1,000 workers died because of fast fashion again. So it's crazy if you think about it, like how much people don't care about the story behind the clothes that we buy. So when I saw this, it just like broke my heart. Like, I mean, I can imagine myself sewing there because I'm a fashion designer. I'm sewing, I'm making for this client, and then suddenly the building collapsed and I die just because of low cost, low operational cost, just because of all this. So all of this is why fast fashion is bad. Some other bad news is that fast fashion companies tend to produce twice than how much they can sell. So as you can see, almost half of them always end up in landfills, maybe even more than half. And then given these are like the recent statistics from 2023, by the way. And also because of social media, where we tend to take photos, videos, and make content, the throwaway culture has increased. So the number of times a garment is worn actually declines because a lot of people tend to buy clothes just to wear on social media. And then after that, they throw it away, or they just, I don't know what they do. And then also the fashion industry is responsible of a lot of wastewater. Why does the fashion industry use a lot of water? Well, because they use a lot of water to wash the fabrics, to dye, or to color the fabrics. A lot of chemicals also goes into the water, so actually it's polluting our oceans. And also the last is the microplastics that also goes into the ocean, because nowadays, again, fast fashion, they don't use like good quality cottons. They use polyester, nylon, viscose, which is basically plastic. So when we buy a piece of clothing and you read the tag and it says 100% polyester, I read a research that every time we wash that polyester garment in our washing machine, the water goes to the streams and ends up in the ocean carrying the microplastics. So actually, when we wash a polyester garment, we are actually also polluting the ocean in a way through these microplastics. So imagine like the millions of microplastics, not the millions of garments every day that people wash around the world that goes and ends up in the ocean. So because of all of this, I felt like what I did was no longer correct. Like the mindset that I had in the beginning, like, oh, I want to have a fast fashion brand that can go global. I was like, wait, I'm actually doing this all wrong. Like, what was I thinking? Because when I started 2 years ago, I had no idea. I was so naive. But then when I was aware of the facts, it's hard to look away. It's hard to just pretend like I don't know and I don't care, because I'm a person of values and good principles. So I felt like I don't think I can like continue running this business anymore, because from the get-go, the intention was wrong. I think as an entrepreneur, the intention has to be right from the beginning. It's not something that I can fix along the way, but the intention was just wrong for me. So what I did was I had to, unfortunately, stop Smiley Mode just like that, even though we were actually doing great. But I said to the team, along with other problems that were happening in the team, like, you know what? I think this is the universe telling us that it's not working. Let's just not do this. Like, let's take a break, give it a pause, and rethink. Maybe we can start a new business. Maybe we can do something new. But for now, I don't think this is good, man. Like, I can't continue like this, being a fast fashion brand. So after taking a break, after thinking what can I do as a fashion designer, I decided to launch my own clothing line brand, which is under my own name, Diana Rikasari. And so in order to make it more sustainable, to make it more eco-friendly, I focused on upcycling, where I utilize secondhand materials only and also waste. So in that case, I don't need to buy new fabrics. I'm actually utilizing the materials that are already out there in the planet. I take them and I upcycle them. So if somebody here is not aware of what upcycling is, it's basically putting a higher value to something that already exists. So for me, how I work as a fashion designer is I would actually look for waste or things that people throw away, or I go look for secondhand materials like in the secondhand markets. And then I would let's say, buy some t-shirts. Secondhand t-shirts, I would wash them, I would cut them into new fabrics, and I use those fabrics and turn them into something new. So in that case, I don't need to buy new materials. I'm actually taking what's already existing on the planet and I make it into something new. So this is an example of what I make. So all of these are using secondhand materials for my clothes. These are some collaborations. The ones on the right was a collaboration I did in Lausanne. This is with a brand called Gorman from Australia, where I upcycled their fabric swatches. Like if you are a clothing brand, you have swatches, meaning like some fabric samples, but they don't use it. So I took them all and I turned them into clothes as well. And this is with a brand from New York called Berries, where I transferred what are these called? Kitchen towels and stuff like that and made them into new dresses. And this is an example of my products in the store. That's some clothes in Urban Outfitters in New York. And in Lausanne, these are some products that I stock in Maniac in Lausanne. So that's what I did in terms of the clothing line. And for my Eyewear Up, which is the shoe brand that I have, of course, I had to kind of review what can I do to improve my clothing brand, my shoe line. So what we did is to first review the materials that we already use. So I thought, you know what, how can we try to use our materials that are more from recycled materials? So for example, to make these heels, the part of this, the heel is made from recycled plastic bottle caps. That's why you see a little bit of blue, white, and black, because that's the color of the plastic bottle caps that we collected. And then the outsole here is made from recycled tires and discarded rubber materials. And some components, we use food wrappers that have been thrown away. We wash them and we use them as ruffles and stuff like that. So we try to use these kind of materials for our products. And then in terms of packaging, we committed to use no plastic at all, even for delivery. We do not want to use plastic at all. And then another statistics that we found is a lot of the waste that's in the landfill found are shoe boxes, because shoe boxes just get thrown away the moment you get the shoes when you shop online. So I was thinking, how can we also reduce the shoebox waste? How can we first tackle the issue of how to make them not throw it away, but also how can we make them actually use the shoeboxes? So there's two things. So first, how can we make our shoeboxes not get thrown away? We make it beautiful. So people are like, oh, it's so cute, I don't want to throw it away, so they will keep it. And then the next step is like, so after they keep it, how can we make them use it? So our idea was that in every shoebox that we send them those paper carton dividers, that if you assemble it becomes this partition that you can put in the shoebox so that people can use it as a container to put their yarns or socks or accessories. And we've seen a lot of photo testimonials from customers. It's beautiful of how they utilize our shoeboxes. Like a lot of people actually use them and they don't throw it away. So our shoeboxes become a part of their utility holders. And then other things that we do to review the business, of course, is to produce less in small batches, because we are not at all trend driven. So we produce just a small quantity. For us, out of stock is better than overstock. So it's better if you say like, oh, it's out of stock, sorry, we have to produce more, which means that we are not leaving any waste on this planet. And then we produce locally. We don't send it out to factories in China or whichever. We have our own workshop and we preserve the craftsmanship of the people who works in that village. So because the shoe workers that I employ are people who have been working as shoe workers, but like generationally, like their dad was a shoemaker, now they are shoemakers. So I think it's nice to preserve that craftsmanship in that city or in that village. And then we also offer a repair service because we realize that with shoes, it gets worn out, it gets damaged, it gets ripped. So we offer a repair service where if your shoes have some kind of damage, send it back to us and we'll repair it, either for free or with a certain fee depending on the condition. But that has managed to prolong the life of the shoes that we sell. And the last was to encourage a healthy purchase habit, which is why in our business, we don't do any gimmick marketings. We don't do like Black Friday sale, even though I love it, but I don't want to encourage that kind of habit. So like we don't do discounts or promotions, just buy if you need it, buy if you love it. Other than that, I'm not going to force you to buy something that maybe you don't need or you don't want. So we try to encourage this kind of healthy purchase habit to our customers. So all that I was talking about sustainability and ethics was from a point of view as a fashion designer and a fashion entrepreneur. So now the question is, what can we do as consumers? Because of course, not all of us are entrepreneurs, but I bet all of us are consumers. So as fashion consumers, what can we do to become more sustainable, to become more eco-friendly, to just be kinder to the planet? And it's actually very easy. Wear your clothes for a very long time. Like when you buy something that you know you will keep and want to wear for a very long time. Even better if it's something that you can imagine that you're going to pass down to your brother or sister or even your kids in the future. So it's something that it's like a collectible item. Like this clothing item really means to me, I want to keep it. And that's why for me, it's very important to build a wardrobe. What does building a wardrobe means? It means that you're building a collection. So for me, a clothing item should actually grow together with you. So it's okay if you have like lots of clothes as long as they grow with you and it has meaning. Because I'm the kind of person who is quite difficult to let go of my clothes because I find my clothes very meaningful to me. It's my wardrobe. And my wardrobe defines my character, my style, my identity. So find a style and build a wardrobe so you don't have to like follow the trends, and then when the trend is over, you throw it away. So build a wardrobe that really fits your style. And the third easiest way is to shop secondhand. Secondhand is actually cheaper, and it's nice if you can even find vintage items. So shopping secondhand is especially also very easy in Lausanne, because in Lausanne there are so many secondhand shops that are great. So this might not be as easy as in some other countries, as in just Indonesia, from where I'm from, for example, there's not that many secondhand shops actually, but in Lausanne, I feel so fortunate because secondhand shops are like everywhere here in Lausanne. And if you don't want to buy secondhand, you want to buy new, we should shop from small local brands in which we know that the supply chain is clear. We know who the workers are, we know where it's made, so it's responsibly sourced. And it's great to also support local entrepreneurs. And for special occasions, if it's just a dress that you know you're going to just wear once to a party, maybe just rent it. In Lausanne, there's also some rental places that we can go to. So, because when we have a very special event, how do we justify buying a really fancy dress and we only want to wear it once? Just rent. It's more sustainable and also cheaper. And sometimes swap with friends. If you have best friends who share the same style, like those two, maybe you guys can swap and say like, hey, I'm bored with this piece, I'm bored, let's swap, yeah. So then you have a new clothes. And this is the most important thing also actually, is to repair our existing clothes, because I think the most reason why we tend to just throw away a piece of clothing is when there's a rip here, there's a tear, or something, there's this stain that just won't go away. You can just repair it. It's very important to learn how to mend clothes, like through stitching or through anything. Like we can just learn and just Google it, how to fix things. And the last is what I do is to upcycle. Like if there's a piece of clothing that you no longer like, you can turn it into something new. It doesn't have to be turned into another piece of clothing. It can be used into something else. Like we can be creative. Now, after all of this, maybe somebody would say like, you know what, if fast fashion or fashion in general is so harmful for the planet, like why don't we just get rid of the idea of fashion and just go for the minimalism lifestyle? Like just be minimal, Diana. Like just forget fashion. Well, I can't. I'm sorry, but fashion is For me, fashion is an important element in life. It brings joy. Fashion is a form of self-expression. It's how you express yourself to the world. And the right clothes can actually like shape your identity. It makes you leave a mark in this world because people remember you for not just who you are, but how you used to dress. And they're like, oh, she's very colorful, she's very gothic, she's very dark, she's very sleek, she's very elegant, she's very artsy. Like people remember you like that through your clothes. So I think you can't just eliminate fashion and say like, you know what, I don't care, I'm just gonna wear this every day. Like I think it's important to actually take care of yourself because fashion is not just self-care, but fashion is also so fashion is part self-care, part public service because it's kind of like you're doing a good favor to other people. Like, look, I look good, look at me, you know, like it makes other people happy. So yeah, the clothes can bring joy in everyday life because so many encounters I have in Lausanne with strangers is because of clothes. And I love chatting with strangers that I bump into on the street, like, oh, you look amazing, you too, oh my God, where did you get that? So I think it's like a really nice bridge to build a connection with strangers. And it's through clothes because clothes is the first thing that you see. It's the first layer after your skin. So I think it's really important to wrap yourself in something that looks good, that feels good. And therefore, we can still celebrate the joy of fashion. We don't have to sacrifice fashion just because, let's say, fast fashion or like the waste is harmful for the planet. Yeah, then don't be part of that. Just do it mindfully. We can still celebrate fashion. We don't have to sacrifice fashion as long as we do it mindfully. So I think the common thread here between as a wearer, as a person, and also about being kind to the planet is to be kind. Is to be kind to yourself, is to be kind to the planet. Fashion is important because that's how you be kind to yourself. Like wear what makes you happy. Like dressing up is a part of joy. Allow yourself to be visible. Just wear it. Don't be scared. You know, like a lot of people feel so terrified to get noticed. Like, I'm just gonna put on my hoodie. I don't want to. But actually, you want to be seen. And actually, the moment you are seen, you feel like, oh, that was nice. You know, like. So actually, it's nice to dress up and be seen. But at the same time, you also have to be kind to the planet. Like just make responsible choices. When we enjoy fashion, make sure that we are wearing clothes that are made responsibly. We have to be mindful about the Earth's waste problem, and therefore we don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. If we cannot be part of the solution, at least don't be a part of the problem. And I think that's what's important. So be kind. And moving forward, we have to realize that as entrepreneurs, as consumers, as just daily human beings who are living on this planet, we all are responsible in taking care of the planet. So we always have to be aware of the issues that are going around us. And especially this waste problem, it's like we have to really think about it and don't pretend that we don't know or don't just look away, but like really digest it and think like, what can I do to at least not be part of the problem? What can I do to actually help solve it? And then for me, I take a stand against fast fashion. I've never shopped fast fashion for the past 5 to 6 years, like zero. I buy everything secondhand, or I make things myself, or I buy vintage, or I buy from small local brands. That's how I take a stand against fast fashion. I know it's not easy for everyone. Like some people still enjoy fast fashion, and clearly there's no judgment here. Like we all have our own pace and decision rationales. But I think if we can, it would be way better if we don't buy from fast fashion. And therefore, we have to also encourage the right behavior, not just to ourselves, but to the people around us, to our family members. Like, hey, you know what? Why don't we da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? We become more sustainable in our fashion choices. And for me as a fashion designer, I would like to also redefine sustainable fashion, because a lot of times when we talk about sustainable fashion out there, it's all always about organic, 100% eco-friendly, grown in the using this sheep that was and then like the colors are like white and beige and brown. I mean, like, yeah, I know we do that because we want to avoid the color dyes and stuff like that. But the thing is, I also believe that whenever you try to develop these new eco-friendly materials, my thinking is that you're still producing new materials actually. So why not we just don't make new materials and we just use what's already on the planet? For me, like, I can't look away from that images of the textiles in the landfills. Like, why don't we use all that? You know, like, I imagine in an ideal world, all the designers come together and say, why don't we go all the way to Chile and we take all of those clothes and we just divide it together and we make something out of that, you know, to tackle this problem. That would be like the ideal world, because like, why are you focusing on growing this 100% organic cotton? Like, just let's tackle that first before we produce something new. So for me, it's like, sustainability doesn't have to be very one-dimensional. It can be another way. And so I would like to like also redefine sustainable fashion where we can be more fun and colorful in our approaches, because again, fashion should be fun and joyful. And that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much. And now we have questions and answers, right, Sophie?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Renata.
Oh, I loved it.
Thank
you so
you.
much, Diana. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Not only to understand more of the industry that, if I'm honest, I'm not too familiar with, but also to get to know you deeper. It's super nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But if I'm allowed to do a bit of a provocative question in a way, what I feel is that also there's a huge chain, right? So it's very hard to say like where does it start and where does it end. And I feel sometimes, and bear in mind, I have zero talent to do my own things. I have no time. I do a completely different work in a completely different industry. Like, I feel sometimes the consumer takes the blame of a huge chain where a lot of, I don't know, like big companies are paying very low salaries to these workers, governments are shipping stuff all over. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways on the chain. So of course we have to do our parts on the consumer, but don't we take like a lot of the heat when the heat should be spread out and a bit more towards these other parts of the chain too?
I would say not at all. I mean, like, maybe that's a perspective, but from my perspective as a player in the fashion industry, none of us are angry at the consumers. We're angry at the bigger people, at the bigger players, at the government. I always complain on Twitter, why is my government not doing anything with the landfill in Indonesia? It's like, oh my God. So I would say like, consumers should not take the blame, because at the end of the day, they buy what they need and they buy what they are supplied with, even though we also can make better choices. But I would say the bigger people the people who should be held more responsible is the bigger players, because capitalism, greed, profit, money, it's always going to that. But as a human being, I don't know how to fight that, to be honest. It's a big game to fight in. So I would just say, like, do what we can. Like, do what we can as consumers. Like that, you know, like, at least just shop secondhand. I guess if more and more people buy less fast fashion, they will see their data growing, like, oh, volumes are getting lower. Dude, what should we do? Maybe we should stop this, you know, eventually. So, I mean, the data speaks, you know, like, if we just stop buying, they will see the data. Sales are declining. So, I mean, that's what we can do.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was a great presentation. Thank you. I have a kind of a point with what Renata said. Like, I will kind of quote my father-in-law, who's always in the opposition of this eco-friendly attitude towards consuming in general. And he's always saying like, yeah, but you know, we are like the small people working every day in our full-time jobs, like this little thing as going to the shop and buying what you like is like the little pleasure in life that we have. And I feel like there is like such a privilege in knowing and having the ability to shop in a small local brands, because they're of course more expensive. And I feel like, isn't it like us talking from this privileged point of view and where we are in the world, that we have of course this knowledge to shop secondhand and be creative in that, but like the everyday bread eater, you know?
The people that are not here.
the people that are not here, they're working hard every day in like regular, jobs, earning this money and finally having the Saturday morning to go shopping, and they want to just, let go and feel happy for a little bit and just aim for this vision that we construct, like, I'm wearing this and that in fashion, so they will follow that. Obviously, they want to have this too, they want to be part of that good life, And I feel like it's so hard to break this. Like if we speak as ambassadors of, we are all here today, so we could be these ambassadors for all the other people that we meet, and maybe they haven't heard about it, they haven't seen that, or how can we what can we say to those people? Like I always have it, somehow like missing words in my argument, because I understand like this kind of desire of like being, fulfilled with your new purchase and feeling good about it. That I worked so hard so I can have something, and I feel like 99% of the world is, aiming for that. So
yeah,
how can we break this, and how can we just help other people around us who are not aware of this, who maybe have not this position of privilege, to encourage these choices. Like this is always tricky for me to.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it's not something that I don't think there's like a straight answer to that. I think we all are thinking the same thing, but we do what we can, right? Like if we can, I think we start from ourselves, and perhaps that can inspire others. But I also am aware that in many other countries, let's just talk directly from my perspective in Indonesia. Indonesia is a developing country in which there's like so many problems in the world. Corruption, the political instability, the waste problem, not just clothes, but like plastic and everything, the traffic jam, the poverty, like people are not even living to live, they're living to survive day by day because of the low pay and everything. So if I talk about sustainable fashion to the Indonesian market, they're just gonna be like, dude, I just wanna go home. The traffic jam is like so bad and I'm so tired right now. So it is hard to just speak about this to everybody in general, because everybody, every country, every city has different problems and they prioritize on different things. For the people in my country, they're like, I can't even think about clothes right now. I'm thinking about food, But again, we do what we can, right? At least we can start. I mean, it would be great, actually, like I am currently in a collaboration working with a company in Switzerland who I think is an inspiration and can be a role model for other businesses around the world, hopefully one day, is that they are replicating the fast fashion business model in which they follow the trends. They try to produce in a fast speed, but they build their own factory in India, but they make sure that the place is safe for the workers. The people in India are paid in a fair wage standard, not following the Indian standard, like the Indian salary standard, but following a better standard. And to produce all of their clothes, they're actually utilizing the textiles in the landfill in India. So everything that's made through this shop called Rework, it's based in Bern and Zurich, are actually upcycled products. But if you go to their shop, it looks like an H&M. And I think it's amazing what they do. So maybe that can be a solution, because why did they have to replicate the fast fashion business models? Because they wanted to make sure that their clothes are still affordable as well. And it's hard to offer affordable clothing items if it's produced in Switzerland. At the end of the day, you have to produce it somewhere else with more people to work on. So maybe these are steps, that people are taking. But maybe like another example, that in my family, it's hard to educate about this. Like my mom and dad, they don't care about sustainable fashion. They will always just go to the malls and shop from fast fashion brands. As much as I'm talking about this outside, but even my own family doesn't care. So But I can't judge my own mom as well. She has her own rationale. So what I can do is, when I was in Indonesia, I took her to the secondhand market. I'm like, Mom, let's shop secondhand clothes for me. Like, you don't have to buy. It's just for me, but come along. And then she found pieces for herself, She's like, oh, actually, it's not that bad. Yeah, I mean, this is nice. And she found that it's cheap. So maybe like through these small actions, I kind of like instilled an idea to my mom, like, actually, these secondhand items are not that bad. And it's quite cheap. So maybe through these small actions that we can do. But I do agree that it's not a simple, straightforward solution, yeah? It's something I think that we all have to think about, actually.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Super insightful. I have questions towards your brand, because I think currently the problem is also the end of life of the products. As you told, that all the clothes, for example, most of them are ending up in the landfills. And as the owner of the brand, how do you make sure that also your product doesn't end up in the landfill? And also, I bet when you are doing upcycling, you also get clothes that are part of the fast fashion, and maybe you use their material. So what is maybe your current vision on to making more improvements, maybe a footprint analysis or life cycle analysis to make more aware about the esteem of your consumers and clients?
So thank you for the question. So for my shoes, that's why we offer a repair service, which is why to encourage people to not throw their shoes away. Because other than clothes, people also throw away their shoes.
Yeah.
And it's proven, like, people send their shoes back to us after 5 years. And it looks so damn ugly. Like, we have to repair this. So we wash it as much as we can, and we fix the stitches that came off and everything. And that's how we avoid it from ending up in the landfill, to prolong the life as much as we can. So the repair service offered by a brand, I think, should be something that's like compulsory. But I cannot think of other brands that do that, but I think we should. And as for the clothes that I make, I don't know what my consumers will do with my clothes, but that's why I try to make my clothes special and different, design-wise, in the hopes that it's too nice to throw away. So like, I have to keep this, so that's all I can do, and other than that, educate. I have a platform, so I educate as much as I can about this. At the end of the day, people make choices, no judgment, but as a person who has the knowledge, all we can do is just keep educating.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really good. Maybe way to reduce this fast fashion movement, it's also by encouraging people to create a collection, as you said, of things that you like. So you know that you have all of these pieces that work well together, so you don't have to be buying. And I would say, like, encourage people to wear their stuff. Like, if you have a friend that often wears a sweater or has a really nice winter coat, like, tell her how nice it looks on her. Yeah. And it's also a way for people to, when they are dressing up, sometimes you have this reflection of like, oh, I cannot wear this t-shirt again, everyone has seen this. And if they know people love their clothes as well, it's also like super encouraging. And if you have it, wear it, and if it looks good on you, be proud of that, and be happy and empowered with what you have. So I feel like it's also like a mindset, because we are used to being told that you have to own many things to have like a certain position, or to show that you belong to a certain group or purchase capacity, and make it more about the personality rather than, oh, she has so many shoes, but more like, oh, she has like an excellent taste in shoes.
Yes, exactly. I love that perspective. Thank you.
So again, maybe not a perfect solution, but I guess it's just like a switch of your mindset.
Yeah, which is why I also believe that our fashion wardrobe should grow with us. Like, I still keep the pieces I have since I was like in high school. I still love them and I treasure them. And when I bring my kid back to my old closet, she's like, oh my God, Mommy, this is so cute. Yeah, you can have it. So I love that feeling, the idea of that clothes have meanings. And then I can remember, oh, I used to wear this when I was like this, like that. So when we treat something as a meaningful object, we also don't have the heart to just like throw it away and stuff like that. So yeah, put meanings in our clothes. Lately, I've been very drawn into cables. Because like at home, we have so many charging cables. Every time we buy a gadget, it comes with cables, 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 cables. So we have a box of cables. So I've just been like looking at these cables and thinking what I can do with it. I make it into accessories. I turn it into a necklace, into a hat, into just things. Like I just like, sometimes I would stay up until 2 a.m. just looking at cables because I can't find the idea. And then my coach in the gym said, so Diana, you look so sleepy today. Did you have a good sleep? I'm like, no, I slept at 2. And he's like, did you go partying? And I'm like, no. I'm like, how do I tell him that I was just like looking at cables? Like, I was just like, what should I make this into? Yeah, like these cables, oh my God. Yeah, but so yeah, I think right now I'm like really drawn into cables because like even when I go to the secondhand shops, like the Brokies in Lausanne, there's like a section of cables. Now they have a section of cables. I'm like, see, there's so many cables. Like maybe we should do something with it. So, yeah, I love experimenting on weird objects.
You mentioned it a little bit about social media and how a lot of we're sort of pushed to consume too show on social media. Do you have any like tips or tricks on how not to be affected? Because I personally find sometimes when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I have all my different influencers that I like, it just pushes you to, then, go on to Zalando and check out, or go on their links. And I find it super, especially if, I don't know, you're having a bad day or something. It's like such a, they do it on purpose, it's like a sort of way for us to get drawn in. Do you have any tips of like, except for unfollowing, I guess, all the influencers, but I find influencers push me a lot for consumption, but I don't want to unfollow them because I get a lot of inspiration and I find it's a nice way to spend time. So I don't know if you have any like tips or tricks for that.
Perhaps for me is like, I would follow the right influencers. So if I know this influencer is encouraging me to buy fast fashion, for me, like, unfollow. But I understand like that's not the case for everybody. So I guess like I learned this tip from somebody else, which I implemented in my own life, and it really works. Is that as women or maybe men, we love to shop. Yeah, it's nice. Like, oh, it's so cute, add to cart. But then there's this tip that when we are in that zone of like add to cart, 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 if there's no like promotion deadline, like, oh, the discount is annual, just like leave it for a week. Like leave your cart for a week. Literally, even though I check it every day, but I'm like, give it 1 more week, give it 5 more days. And then at the end of the week, I revisit my cart and I revisit how I feel about it. I'm like, actually, I was just carried away, remove. This one, actually, I kind of have something similar, remove. So for example, if my cart was like, it had 5 pieces in the cart, by the end of the week, I only bought 1 because actually the 4 one was more impulsive and the other 1 was like the one that I actually really, really liked. So that 1 week gives you a space to kind of like rethink, was I just being impulsive or like, do I really, really like it? And then the second tip is to like shop less, is to always think, am I buying this because I like it? Or am I buying this because it's cheap? Or am I buying this because it's on discount? So for me, the most important thing when I'm shopping is to actually close the price, because I don't want to be tempted by the price just because of the offer. Like, it's because we get carried away, like, but it's 50%, like, let's just buy it. But actually, you don't really like it. So for me, the tip is like to not look at the price first, but see the product. Like, okay, I like this, and then you see the price. I'm like, oh, too expensive, no. Or, oh, it's cheap, let's get it. So I think that's the tip for me.
Thank you.
1 second, just so I don't cut short. It is 10, so I know some of you have meetings and different things. So if you do need to go, don't feel like you're trapped here. You can kind of sneak out. But otherwise, we can have the last question. And Diana, I think, is going to be around after for a bit. So you can also chat with her directly. But this way, you don't feel trapped here. So feel free to go if you need to.
Alexandra.
I just wanted to point out how much I like the idea
idea about clothes being part of the personality and your style rather than following a trend. I grew up in Moldova where I never even knew that fast fashion is a problem because my parents had their own business of selling secondhand clothes. So for 18 years of my life, I've only wore secondhand
That's so
clothes.
cool.
I'm only buying one time per year something I needed for school rather than like a coat, something bigger that I needed was bought new, but the rest was secondhand. So I was always thinking, oh, I'm gonna leave and I'm finally gonna be able to buy myself clothes.
Yeah.
Because my parents are like, you're having secondhand. But the thing is that I always loved my clothes. I always loved everything I was wearing, and I was always getting compliments, and I always felt like it's part of my personality. And everyone else were kind of following trends and having very repetitive thing, and whereas I was coming in like colorful, crazy stuff that no one ever even saw before because my mom had first access, so she would always give me like the best, and I could like combine the way I wanted. So I always loved this part of making it my personality, whereas other people from my school they're kind of following trends. And even though when I was younger, I thought that, oh, but I also want to follow trends because everyone likes it, so I have to like it too. So after leaving and started buying clothes and seeing fast fashion and how everyone kind of looked the same, I realized very fast that I don't like it. And I was like, I don't want to be part of this. So I started going back to secondhand. So moving here to Lausanne was kind of a bit sad at first for me because it was not as much choice as I had throughout my life to secondhand. So I think just reframing your brain that this is, you can make your own thing, you can combine very unique things in between each other, and you're not going to be like every other person and make it your personal style. That's what changed for me. Also, the idea around fashion. So I really like that about you and how you promote upcycling and fashion.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the conversation, and thank you, Diana, for the really inspiring talk. I think it's important to bring awareness to this, and I also love that you can dress differently, like in a very sustainable way. So, as to say sustainability doesn't mean you have to wear earthy tones like me either. You know? And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you to Diana. Yeah. Big thanks to Adobe, who is our new global sponsor. They've started with us again this month, and our partnership was announced at Adobe Max this past month. Our founder, Tina, who is also Swiss, coincidentally, she was able to do an interview with them and announce how great this partnership was. We have a lot of synergies between our communities with the creative community. And they really believe in this partnership because of you, because of the community that that you've brought and that we've created here. So thank you very much to Adobe, our global sponsor. So now I want to thank our local sponsors for, without them, we wouldn't be able to do this anywhere and not have the food for you today. So raise your hand if this is your first time in this space at CoSpire. Okay, cool. I have actually with me Janan, one of the co-founders of CoSpire, so I'll have her speak a bit about the space. Thank you, Janan, for the space. Ah, right. If you want to click.
Good morning, I'm Janan. I am one of the co-founders along with my husband who is at the front. You'll meet him later. And we opened CoSpire 5 years ago. It's a co-working space, but it's also more than a co-working space. We're a community. We are a space where you have events, a space where you can collaborate, a space where you should feel welcomed, a space where we open our doors to events like this. Because we're really focused on community, we're really focused on inspiring people, we're really focused on in-person events as well. But a little bit about the co-working, we do have half-day passes, day passes, you can drop in, and then just pay at reception. Otherwise, we have memberships, so 5 days a month, 10 days a month, they're unlimited. So thank you, and have a good morning.
Thank you, Thank you, Janan. And also for breakfast and coffee this morning, thank you to Sleepy Bear. Because they're a coffee shop, they're not able to be here to do this pitch themselves, but they have 3 locations now, one in Ripon, and Ripon's location is celebrating their 1 year this month. And the Sugar location that I think a lot of you are familiar with. And they also have a new shop as of last year in Montreux. So really great specialty coffee. They were the first specialty coffee shop in Lausanne, and now you can see specialty coffee has been thankfully growing in our community. So if you're a big coffee fan like me and some of the other people on our team, check out Sleepy Bear if you haven't already.